Hi, everybody. I do believe that we are on time and we are probably also live. Just to let you know, we are going to start with some introduction and then I will present the amazing panel that I've got today. I do have a couple of slides, so I'm going to share my screen right now and do bear with me while I do this. So hopefully you all sign up for the right webinar, but we are going to discuss today why the customer services start with a great employee experience. Please do stay, even if it's not the right one, because this is going to be interesting, I promise. So I'll do again a bit of introduction. I think that would leave a lot of you to join in at a later stage. I know how it is. You block some time to have a webinar, especially on lunchtime if you're in the UK. And then things happen, as we know, in the FM world. So please do join in, make yourself comfortable, have a cup of tea, and hopefully you'll see an interesting debate on the topic. So welcome everybody to another great session for IWFM. And this is actually the first, at least this year, the first webinar for the Customer Experience Special Interest Group. So we are a bit excited about this one. My name is Maud Santamaria. Just in case you've never met me, I am the Global Workplace Director for GWI, and I'm also the chair for the SIG, the Special Interest Group. You will hear that word a lot. I will reduce it to SIG. And I'm delighted today to also join with a great panel, which I will introduce, I promise. In the background, I am helped today by two members of our Special Interest Group, the SIG, Helen Connolly and Jeff Greatley, respectively the deputy chair and the secretary. Without them, I couldn't do this. So they're also going to take your question just because we will have time at the end to have some Q&A. So thank you again on the background. I know you're here. I guess I just wanted to do a little bit of introduction. I guess it's important to talk about our SIG, our Special Interest Group on customer experience. And we have a new committee, I guess, from this year. And believe me, there will going to be tough shoes to fill because our beloved chair have decided it was time to retire for now of the topic. He's still a member, by the way, and I'm pretty sure he's here today. Jamie McDonald, again, thank you so much. So from this year, I am the chair and we have some new members of our committee. But I guess also we have a new topic that we're concentrating on, which is the link between the employee experience and the customer experience within the FM world. Honestly, it's all the same expertise. We are a group of individuals from FM that just want to be like IWFM in general, wants to educate on that particular topic, and also making sure that people are attracted to the industry, which is so fabulous to be part of at the moment, where everybody wants to create that experience, customer or employees in their workplace. So again, welcome. And if you do want to join the Special Interest Group, as much as you would want to join IWFM, I've got some link after that you can scan QR code. So at the last pages, when we finish with the panel, I will share this. As I mentioned, we have a nice panel today, and I did want it to say yes on purpose. We have an all-female panel, and that's a little a wink to International Women's Day that happened on Friday. So yes, normally they should have some hearts as well. There you are. I think that was important for us to showcase also our brilliant expert in the world of FM, but also particularly into the customer experience. So if you want to put some question on the Q&A, we will make sure that we go at the end. If we don't have time, we actually have decided as a group to make sure we review this after and try to answer them as much as you can on the LinkedIn of the group, which again, I will put a QR code at the end of the webinar so you can put your question there and you'll see our answer. Without further ado, and I do feel that we had another like 5 minutes, which means all of you should be here. I think we're going to start with some question for the panel. So to make almost like an introduction, and I will actually stop sharing because we don't need to see those slides for now. So I think, yeah, as an introduction, it would be great if we can ask all of our panel a bit about yourself, and then if you could also let us know the best customer experience story that you ever receive as a customer. I think that would be a nice introduction for this webinar. If I go with Nicola first.
Good afternoon, folks. Hi, I'm Nikki Lathbury. I am from the Infinite Group Services and the founder of FM Connect for property networking and facilities management networking. And I would like to share my favourite experience from an FM perspective was where we attended the Workplace Awards last year, and that was at the Hurlingham Club, which is managed by Andrea, who's on our panel today. Being a stickler for service myself and actually having an allergy, I dread going to an event. From the minute you walked in through the gatehouse, the manicured gardens, the staff that greeted you when you attended, the quality of service and the fact that they gave you such an experience that they felt like they were living it, they wanted to be there. And from the experience, the fact that I'm an allergy sufferer, I wasn't made to feel a pain. I was made to feel welcomed and well catered for, and it almost like they wanted to show me how they could excel. So beautiful venue, well managed, great team. Testimony to Andrea. Well done. Super proud of you, girl.
Honestly, like this is quite a perfect link then if we if we then ask Andrea for your expertise, because clearly you just had a very good link to you there. Well done.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Nikki. I will also say that as much as I manage the facilities, it's a massive team and everyone plays the part. So you had the experience from every department. So I am the head of soft services at the Hurlingham Club. I have been there almost 2 years. I live and breathe the employee experience first, because I'm of the mindset that if you focus on that first, it filters down to the customer, end user, client, whomever. So when I was preparing for this webinar, I was racking my brains to think of the customer experience that really, really shone. And as it turns out, 2 days ago, I had it. So me and my partner went to the most beautiful restaurant. It's called Blacklock and Canary Wharf. Not Canary Wharf, sorry, Covent Garden. And from the moment we stepped in, the staff were engaging. They didn't look like they were pretending to be busy. They looked like they were really busy and they were wanting to give you the best experience ever. It felt like I'd gone out to dine with friends. They were informed as well. And the whole experience was so fantastic that we're trying to book again for their Sunday roasts. But what I love most about the experience is I felt that it embodied FM in the fact that it was good value, it was quality, the staff were informed, and whether or not it was the case, the whole operation seemed absolutely effortless. So that's me.
Nice. That was a very good one. And then in terms of this is interesting that you said they were informed, by the way, and you both have said something really cool, which is all of the employees wanted to be there. And I just find it so important with what we're trying to do, what IWFM wants to try to do, as well as, you know, engaging and attracting the talent. I think we do want to make soft services and hospitality and that experience that FM deliver an entire career. I think this is important, which is a good segue to our final panelist, because she is the CEO of IWFM.
Maud. And it's quite easy to go last, actually, and just say, well, I concur with my sort of my previous panelist said, as you do. So good afternoon, everyone. It's an absolute joy, and thank you very much, Maud, for considering me to invite me today. And obviously, so I won't talk about it from what I call an FM perspective, but I will talk about it from a human perspective, because after all, this is who we are. We are humans. And it's how we feel at the end of any intervention. That is what's important. And it goes back to what Andrea was saying, how she felt at that dinner, etc. And I think in this day and age, you're a customer in sort of two different ways. There's an online customer, because at the end of the day, even though I'm not facing somebody, I'm facing a screen. Unlike at the moment where I've got lovely sort of people looking at me from the screen. When you're actually transacting as a customer, how has that company really built their systems to really understand who you are and to make that experience second to none? And I can think of a really good example, and that's Fortnum and Mason in London. Their online shopping is an absolute joy. It's effortless and they know you. And just a simple thing. So years ago, they, obviously, because, it's like on the system, you get onto the system and out comes the communications. But it's come up to Mother's Day. Now, I lost my precious mother 24 years ago. So years ago, Fortnum and Mason said, we're just about to start the campaigns. Would you like us to communicate to you about Mother's Day or not? So I was able to say not, because it broke my heart to think that I actually could not, I won't be buying a Mother's Day card. I'll be thinking about my mother as I do, on Mother's Day. And I think, she's not here, etc. And it still upsets me 24 years later. But they were sensitive enough to know not to communicate to me. And that really, put them on a sort of really a top drawer level for me. And the other one, in actual fact, strangely, as this may sound, and no offense intended, was actually when I purchased the car years ago. So it was a car dealer. And he, to me, was the best customer service salesperson I have ever experienced in my life, because he didn't sell to me. He spent time with me, he got to know me, he got to understand me, and at no stage did he ever, so even he was inquiring about what I wanted, what colour, what I wanted, and then produced the car, going, no, I don't want that car. He said, well, that's just what you said, that's what you wanted. But he understood that there was a deeper motivation within me. And eventually I found that motivation. I knew exactly what it was I wanted. And because needless to say, he hooked me, because I went straight back to him and bought the car, from him. And even though he's long since retired from that dealership, but that dealership has had over 12 years of custom from myself, because of my sort of psychological connection with Andrew all those years ago.
Love it. Thank you so much, Linda. That's two great examples. And I think it is quite interesting to look at also the online path, knowing that at the end of the day, there's still a lot of the front of house that will design those websites, design those experiences. And so I think with the topic that we try to achieve from our special interest group on the customer experience, we're really trying to say, and exactly what you mentioned, because those guys definitely knew their job, there's no taking away from this, but actually wanted to go deeper, that I just need to sell, I just need to, make that event go smoothly, and God forbid, any incident. We also know our Maslow pyramid of interest, right? Health and safety first. They still all went for that above and beyond, but maybe now this is what also we all expect from an experience, right? I mean, God knows how many of our friends, when you ask them for a birthday gift, what do you want? I want an experience. I want to go out with you guys. I want to enjoy that. And this is where on a restaurant basis or on any other experience, you now expect that the team is going to be celebrating with you, whatever that is that you try to celebrate, isn't it? So when they do that extra little thing, you just feel so great. So one of the question we wanted to ask is, and it's interesting because again, we all talk about almost individual cases, or maybe like one example. How do we think that we're going to make this as a scale up, right? So almost like as a strategy to make sure that all of our team are going to deliver this, are going to be able to deliver this. So the question, and we'll see who wants to start first, by the way, you decide, or I can pinpoint, is what are some of the key, I guess, FMN workplace strategy that contribute to enhancing that customer experience via the employee experience? I mean, Linda, you went, wait, nice. This is nice, actually. Yeah. We could keep on the same kind of path. Then maybe Nicola, you were very fast on saying yes.
Thank you, Maud. So the experience where I've seen this done really, really well was when I visited the Sky campus. I don't know if anybody's ever been lucky enough to visit there. It's on the outskirts. And we was invited along because we were looking at potentially holding a WIFM conference there, but it just seemed a little bit too far to get people to go out to. And I was absolutely wowed by what they've created there, because what they've actually done, because they're aware of the fact that it's quite far out, and the fact that people work such busy lives that you end up doing all your life admin on the weekends, so you don't really get any downtime. So what they've actually created there, it's almost like a home from home. So you can go and have your hair cut on site, you can go and get your bike fixed, you can get your dry cleaning done, you can go to the cinema with your friends, you can go to the restaurant. And I was just completely blown away by this. It's like, I want a job. So then they're flexible on their work times there. And this is way before COVID happened as well, because obviously things accelerated after COVID happened. But this was before COVID had actually existed. And what they encourage people to do is output spec. So as long as you get your job done and it's done by the deadlines that you need to do it for, they don't care if you go and have a blow dry for an hour and a half, as long as you then get your work done. So that way they get more engaged workers there, which means that their end customer gets an even better experience. So by tweaking their FM strategy about what they've got on site, what they can deliver to their employees, their customers get a direct correlation of improved service. And I was just absolutely wowed by it when I went there. And I'm gutted that it was so far out. Obviously, you couldn't do it in the centre of London because you wouldn't be able to fit all those things in them for the footprint. But I was amazed by that. So massive shout out to Sky, and I think Mike, the contract on there. I don't know if they still are now, but that was a really, really good experience there. And I was completely wowed with that synchronicity between workplace experience, how the FM company are advising them as well, and bringing that together so that end clients get a great experience.
Yeah, I think that's a great explanation of the strategy that they looked at, but also, and I hope this is the case now after COVID, like the FM team and the workplace team was also invited, I assume, with what you just mentioned, at the table of the discussion to say, okay, we want to bring back employees. We want to be safe. Believe me, again, that's one of our top priority. But also, like, how do we make them, like you said, you literally just said, I wanted a job, right? And that's almost what you want from an experience like this, where we're visiting another place. You say, I want to be there. Either I want to be the customer, like you mentioned for Andrea's club, or you just want to have a job because you can see how well the FM team was working, the same goal that they had. I love that strategy, by the way.
Especially when we're in a talent short market. If everyone's fighting for talent, you need to do whatever you've got to do to get people to want to come and be part of your team.
Yeah. And I feel like another key point I've just taken from what you said is know your challenge as well. I think if you know your site has XYZ, you're far from the city center, you're far from anything, like I'm thinking of Moneypenny, which is such a great example, which is so far, again, remote, but yet they have so many people that want to do the very difficult job of their customer services on the phone. This is a remarkable strategy that they've also achieved. You're right, there is a bit of like, look at where you are and what you can do. But that was a brilliant use of, okay, this is our challenge, but look at the opportunity we have with the space. Let's create it. Love it. Yeah.
I have actually been to Moneypenny as well, and they have embodied experience way before everybody else was doing it. Right from there, when they set up, they are absolutely amazing outfit. They're really, really good crew there.
Another good example, and I think they have a lot of award that they won from IWFM. So I'm sure if you also look at Moneypenny on IWFM, they have their case studies, some of the presentation, and I know they always welcome anybody to have a look at their site and share their best practice, which is what we're all about, aren't we? Andrea, I think you were also quite quick at putting your hands up. Do you have? I'm happy to repeat the question, by the way.
Yeah, no. I've got the question, don't worry. So going on from Nikki's experience, which is obviously the end result, I'm going to jump back to basics of how do you get there. I think that in many organizations, because I've worked in large organizations, smaller organizations, the fundamentals need to be transparency. Your strategy must be to be transparent. Like, what is your goal? How do you plan to get there? And can we get there together? I think there's too many times I have seen organizations where all the managers know what's going on, but the people on the ground don't. So how exactly are they supposed to manifest or bring to life your vision or our vision if they do not know about it and they don't have the correct tools to do it? I also feel very strongly, anyone who knows me knows I've got absolutely no filter, okay? But, stop laughing, Nikki, but I am a big fan of honesty, and I think that some people can fail because they're too scared to say, I don't know, I haven't got the money, or, it's just not feasible. Now, let's be honest, we can all make amazing things happen, okay, 100%. But we can't work miracles. And there's no harm in saying you can't work miracles. If you give a team a completely unattainable sort of goal, they're going to get stressed. They're not going to have to deliver it. If you keep yourself away from them and don't say, well, we're struggling here, has anyone got any ideas? How do you expect to deliver that customer experience? So the strategies there, transparency, honesty, and preempting, be realistic. I think the customers will come along if they know that these are the limitations. And that's where you get the success.
Yeah, right. This is another brilliant answer, and I love the fact on a webinar we also have debate, right? We don't want to all say, oh yeah, of course we can give you the best customer experience because we have the best employee experience. I think the transparency and the fact that you try to, and I love the word preempting. I think we all try as a workplace NFM now to be more right, than reactive. We want to be proactive. And I think this is one of the parts that you can help your entire team to just be better, but be prepared. And sometimes be prepared also to say, sorry, I can't do this right now, but I make sure I'll do the extra part. You did mention
Sorry, or not even I can't do it. Well, not saying I can't do it because that's a negative word, but to say this bit isn't possible. However, here, have this. It's shiny and different. Maybe it will work better. That type of,
totally. Which means that you have trust in them to do the best in their capability, right? So you trust them also to do something. I think it's another great strategy, by the way. So good answer.
I think it's about us actually walking a mile in our client's shoes. So if we can walk in our client's shoes, then we actually start to understand what they're going to need before they even know they need it. And that's what good FM is about, is preempting it and making sure that we're actually thinking about it before they are, because they're trying to run their operation. At the end of the day, our job is how to make the boat go faster.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and I think a few of you already on the introduction of what was your best experience. There was a lot of preempting. I think I've took some notes, like, not only they wanted to be there, so they were actually enjoying it, but they also knew you. So either they had some data from you before, or the normal experience that they have. That was really good. Yeah, excellent. Linda, what do you think? What's the strategy?
Thank you, Maud. I certainly can resonate with Andrea and her comments, etc. Because I've been around for so long, I've been so much tension when you have all these platitudes about, oh, you look after staff are a number one asset. Well, it's interesting, and yet you don't invest in them, you don't look after them, etc. And then and our customer experience and the customers, customers not wrong, etc. And then you've got this conflict. You've got this conflict between the staff who you were expecting actually to deliver the service, design a product, get it out to customers, etc. There's a tension there because they actually think that's not really 100% true, and it comes down to integrity and authenticity. And therefore, to me, it's all about a purpose. Companies must have a very, very clear, defined purpose, which now, especially with the younger generations, they are looking at this, well, do I want to work for you? Are you true to your purpose? Can I buy into it? Regardless of whether they stay with you for 18 months, 2 years as an apprentice, or whether they're sort of coming in as sort of senior management, etc. Do they actually believe you are who you say you are, etc.? And therefore you then get this falsehood. If you're saying one thing to one group of people, but you actually, you're not delivering it to another team of people. And employers are absolutely integral. And and this comes down to your workplace strategy, etc. IWFM itself is a totally 100% distributed workforce. I've got people up and down the country, etc. But therefore, we as a leadership team have to work harder to create that sense of belonging, because there's now not bricks and mortar to bring people in where you've got your artifacts and you've got your logos everywhere, where you get that sense of belonging. So therefore, what does it mean for somebody, you know, up in Aberdeen and somebody down on the South Coast and everybody in between to get that sense of belonging? So whenever they speak to any of our stakeholders, whether it's a member, prospective member, a learner, an organisation who we just entered into a content partnership with, these are all assets and all journeys towards professionalising workplace and FM. And therefore, are we all singing from the same hymn sheet? And you have to get that level playing field within the team, so that I don't care whoever is talking to anybody within the organisation, they're talking to one organisation, and you have to work really hard on that.
Yeah, I think that's another good point of a strategy. The fact that we now all want actually to have a company that has value, follow their purpose. And again, I think this is where, you know, we really want to push you guys that listening to the webinar and, you know, part of IWFM to not just push you into the education part, but really to believe that you have a seat at the table. So you do know that you can help the purpose of the company to make sure not only they succeed, but actually you're all part of the same strategy. Andrea, I can feel it. Yeah.
You know what? I don't know why I'm raising my hand like I'm at school. But anyway, thinking back to the beginning of what Linda was saying, it just popped into my head. And I thought the bit that I've never touched on before, but thought about now, was as much as, you know, we need to drive the employee experience for the customer experience, based on what Linda said, there is also accountability to the employee themselves before they even start. So, you know, as Linda was saying about visions, great, but why does someone apply for a job when your vision and your values don't align? Because you're never going to get the employee experience if you go in there with the wrong type of attitude. Like, for example, boldness is your thing, but the company you're going to is really reserved. I mean, what's the point? You're trying to change yourself to fit a mold instead of going, do you know what? Let me internally think, what can I do? What do I want to do to know that I'll be happy as an employee and therefore then deliver the employee experience?
Yep, I think it's fair. I think putting some ownership into the employee to make sure they don't just join a company because that has a fancy name or something that you know was good in the past. I think the values, and this is what Linda was saying about the purpose of the company, I think an alignment is essential. I mean, there's so much that the manager level can probably do to achieve it, but at the end of the day, if you don't believe your entire company and what they're trying to achieve, it would be hard to go with your full-on extra mile senses and try to help clients, because you might not believe fully of what the company is trying to achieve anymore. So I think that was perfect. So we went into,
Sorry, I'm really sorry. You're probably thinking, look, I've got the questions, Linda, and you just hijacked it.
Go for it.
Anyway, here we go. I was at a conference last week, and once again, we know that in workplaces, we've got 5 generations. And it drives me insane when people try and put you in a box. Oh, you were born on that year, or that's who you are. However, Andrea just said something and just resonated with me. We had 2 young Gen Zs up on stage, etc., and they were saying, "Look, you've got to understand us. You know, we know those sport brats, and we know we have a sense of entitlement. And we know this, and we know that. But if it's sunny today, I feel like going for a walk for 2 hours. I'm going for a walk for 2 hours, and you've got to accommodate." And I'm sitting there thinking, that's interesting. So I run a company and I run a business, and I'm responsible to my board of directors, and I have accountability and responsibility, etc. And there are deliverables. And whether you work in a knowledge environment, or whether you work in a manufacturing plant and you've got to make something and produce it by the end of the day, etc. And I think this is why companies have got to work so much harder now with these different expectations of work. Because believe you me, you couldn't say to a customer as an organisation, you're going to have to wait 2 hours. I know we promised you by 1 o'clock today you'd have it, but in actual, it's the sun shining. The sun shining. You can't expect our staff to be working when the sun's shining. they've all gone for a walk. So there has got to be that constant engagement and discourse between all people within the organisation, so you can get to a point where organisations, at the end of the day, this country has got to become great again. We've got to build a better Britain, and we've got to have productive workplaces. We've got to have successful companies, because if we don't, the country is going to go down and down and down. And therefore, to have successful businesses, people have got to show up and deliver, etc. But organisations must invest in those people. So at the end of the day, they're proud of what they've done. Whether that involved a 2 hours walk in the park because the sun was shining, but they could do that because they weren't very busy. They've done what they wanted to do. But this is going to require a different mindset from leaders and managers and staff at all levels to all come together to deliver. But we have got to start building more successful businesses.
Yeah, I feel like we should, there should be a massive wave on this TED Talk like speech, by the way. That was incredible. I feel that Nicola, you had your hand up. I just wanted to say, just because you have mentioned that word a lot, and it is true, like at the end of the day, we're all working for businesses that have deliverables. And I think what we're trying to achieve is having a nice employee experience, and you're still an employee, no matter how harsh that sounds as well. So you do have an output. I think maybe what we are trying to achieve as the FM team, the workplace team, is to make sure then when you have to do those crack-on moments, and work is never the same every day, clearly, and you really push so hard that it's okay and you stay flexible. But the team, at least output, if not the company output, need to be so transparent, like we said, so we can see a trend on what we're saying, that people understand there are deliverables and their needs, although taking care into account, will still kind of sometimes not match the deliverables that the company has. I thought that was important to kind of mention. It's a good debate. Nicola.
I think what we need to keep in mind, though, is that this all comes down to how we actually recruit these people. So we set out our stall in the right way. We actually make sure that our recruiting partners or our HR departments understand the strategy, what they're trying to deliver, and actually what characteristics, what skills and abilities are going to need to be recruited to fit in culturally. It's around making sure that we're getting the right people aligned. I've had people in my recruitment days where they're absolutely fantastic people, with really, really skilled, but I know that if I put them into that particular company, they're not going to fit that culture. So the employer have a bad experience, the employee is going to have a bad experience. It doesn't mean that either party are bad, they are just not the right pairing. So it's making sure that our recruitment strategies are aligned with the business strategy, that it all works back and weaves in together. Otherwise, we're piddling in the wind and we're never going to be able to get there. If people's expectations are different, we need to set out our stall properly so that we're really clear about what we expect. This is what we do here at our company. This is what we need to achieve. This is how we want to make a customer feel. Do you feel that you can be part of that team? Does that fit with what you want from your expectations? What are your goals? What are the company's goals? Are they going to intertwine? Can we help you get there? Because if we don't get that piece right on the recruitment piece, we're not going to be able to deliver any of the experiences that we're wanting to deliver, either employee or customer experience. So it goes all the way back to that, and also making sure, again, like Andrea said, that the strategy is really clear. We need to have a really clear strategy, and everybody needs to know where they fit into that and what part they can play in that.
Yeah, what we're trying to achieve, what you can help with. I think that's critical. I like the fact that it's a theme now that we're putting on transparency, trust, and proactiveness. I think it makes sense. So I think we talked a lot about the strategy. I am going fast because the webinar is, the time is flying, by the way. So I'm going to try to do, I think, one more question when we have all time to answer. And then after that, I think we look at the Q&A to make sure that we also get those guys. So you have time to answer that one. But
Really
what we're going to do. Yeah, go.
Sorry, I mean, you did know when you picked us that we like to speak.
Ah,
so, not our fault.
well, no, exactly. And this is the entire reason. So that was perfect. So I guess we talked about the strategy. I think we have some nice understanding. We have something that comes back. So we know that there are some good practice of, like, in terms of strategy to look into. I think what I would love to ask you, if you have maybe more example, and I think I went for it on the prep for this meeting to say case studies, almost like what's your best practice as an example, so people that listen to the webinar can go back and say, oh, I'm going to try to do this actually, or let me try to adapt this for my my contract, my organization. Is, do you have an example case study on where you did an investment within your employee, within your FM team, that then directly impacted customer experience or employee experience? Who wants to go first on that one?
I'm quite happy to go first.
Yeah, Linda, you should go first. I feel like you.
Yeah, because in actual fact, because I know Andrea and Nicola will actually sort of give detailed experiences. What I urge everybody to do is to go on to the IWFM Impact Awards website, because let's face it, every year, because it drives me mad when people say, well, are there any case studies about what good FM and workplace looks like? Oh, yes. We run national awards. Well, they're not just national, they're global awards every October, etc. And they are the most amazing, amazing, amazing organizations, teams, individuals who are actually making a difference to economy, society, and business. And therefore, I implore people to go in, look at those finalists, and as I know there's winners, and those winners are amazing, because you look at the workplace experience, you've got positive climate change winners, you've got excellent customer experience mold, obviously, which is what today's about, and well-being, which obviously if you get the experience right, then people are feeling well. So I implore people, if you want experiences, if you want to look at case studies, go onto the IWFM Impact Awards website, and you've got case studies there going back for the last 21 years. But I don't expect you to go all through all of them, just the last 2 years we'll probably do. So I will now hand over to my esteemed colleagues.
That was brilliant. I can only concur, because I'm also a judge on some of the expertise, and when they are so kind to share how they do it, and believe me, on the website when you go, you're right, they really are detailing some nice example. They're detailing the strategy, they're detailing their experience, they're detailing some proper examples. Sometimes they're even telling you the return on investment that has happened. So again, we're not talking about any fluffy stuff anymore within the workplace, like proper, we help to achieve this. I think that's what a good example, actually. No need for no more. That was brilliant. Yeah. Girls, do you have some other example or best practice that you can share?
I am going off the cuff on this one because it's just popped into my head while I was listening. There is this is from a customer experience point of view. There's a supplier that I didn't actually work with on a previous account. But they came in, they did a proposal, they gave us everything we wanted. They sort of held our hands, walked us through it, to do with our waste. The company was called Pulse. They're fairly small, but they're very good at what they do. And they stuck in my head, and I really wanted to use them on the account that I was in, but it wasn't a good fit for the client. There's always some concerns, they're a bit small, let's go for someone bigger because they've got longer history, better case studies. So it ended up being about 3 years later, just as I was starting at the Hurlingham Club, and I freaked out because I needed to make a very quick change, because the supplier that was there when I joined was being a little bit unreliable. Maybe it was because of the workload, I don't know. So I remembered the presentation given by James at the time, and I stalked LinkedIn. I found him, sent him a message and say, hi, do you remember me? I'm that crazy lady from so-and-so. You were really good. I need help. Can you help me? I gave him exactly what I needed within 3 days without even signing the contract. I don't know if I should say that. Don't get in trouble, James. They had sorted out the complete problem. They handled our food waste. They got rid of the problem we had that caused pest control issues. They were absolutely phenomenal. And I will just say that everything that they do, the fact that they're organized, they have their spreadsheets, they have their weighing technology, but they've also got the heart, and they've got that sort of, I don't even know how to say it, but they delivered such a great job that I've ended up saving the organization about £250,000 in a year. Now that's a return on investment. That is, we can now take that money and use that thank you. We can now take that money and use it elsewhere, because Pulse have done a fantastic job. It's not always been easy. I'm a difficult client, but they have done they've done a lot, and I would say that's my one case study I would give.
Yeah, I like the fact that you've mentioned, and that came up today. We are talking about the individual. We did try to explain about the strategy, or how can you making sure that we scale it to not just one person is amazing, but the entire team. I think the example are still showcasing actually a team now is working very well. And I'm assuming anybody else that will go to that supplier will have the same experience. And that's almost the goal, right? Trying to make that every customer feel how you felt.
They're consistent. They're consistent because it's not even just that one individual. I've dealt with the director, I've dealt with the transport lady. They all know my name, and it doesn't matter. And even the drivers that come to site, they'll stop and have a conversation with me. So that's every department. That's accounts, transport, sales, and on the front line. And I'm blown away by them.
Nice. And I think this is a good the good mention that you've also said on you do need to allow the trust and all of that for everybody to go and do their best is amazing. But I think there are still some processes. So I'm sure if you look down into the company, you have like some nice processes, nice kind of way to do those things where you can then scale to everybody. You can teach great customer experience. I do believe that as well. I know sometimes people say, it's just in you. I mean, it is a little bit, but you get that sometimes that magic. We know this. It's like whoever wants to be a doctor when they're young, not everybody can do this, but you can also learn some good ways to try to make it. And I feel like what you just said, by every person was then in charge of the customer experience, priceless. Nicola?
And leading on from what Andrea said, this is kind of fluke actually. So back in my FM days, when I used to be head of operations for Helistrat, we used to deliver cleaning, waste and pests for M&S through a series of contractors. And we felt we always wanted to deliver an exemplary service. But our out of hours was dealt with by another company, and that was causing us problems each day when we came in. So we made a decision as a team. I asked the help desk team what they felt they would feel the right solution was. And they said, well, we should take it all in-house. I said, but we're a 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. We need it 24/7, 365. And they're like, well, yeah, let's take it in-house. We'll be accountable for it ourselves. Which is what we ended up doing. That's what I wanted to do, but I kind of needed them to come forward with it. Otherwise, we were going into consultation. And now being a business owner, I realised I dodged a bullet there. So when we took everything in-house, and actually we used to look after M&S. So to keep the distribution centres moving at peak period, it costs a lot of money. And also obviously in peak, you've got all the other retailers are fighting for waste collections. So they were doing it in a reactive service before. What we did is we actually changed that service, and we actually did it so we pre-booked all their wagons for them, which actually caused a little bit of a conflict initially with the people that work for the 3PL or the distribution centres, because they felt that we were taking their power away. But when we explained what we were trying to do with them, and we actually made it really transparent, is that we said that we were trying to make their job easier. So instead of having to run around to book a collection, which obviously anybody that's worked within the industry and tried to book waste collections and peak know that you're paying double and triple. After a week or so, they actually started to realise what we were trying to do. So then they only had to call us if they wanted to cancel a collection, which meant that the wagons were moving, the DCs kept moving. We had no downtime for the first peak period, and we saved an absolute fortune because everything was pre-ordered. Instead of us paying ad hoc prices when we were trying to get emergency collections, we saved a fortune. So thousands of pounds were saved. The DCs kept running with no issues at all. It was a lot smoother transaction. The staff were a lot less stressed. And as an end result, the products were getting to the shop floor without causing issues where it stopped. Because if you can't get the waste out, it actually stops the DC running, and you get fined for it a lot of money. So it was really, really important to keep those moving, and the customer service that they delivered, it meant that all the different teams that were involved in the different layers of that service as well before we got to the shop floor, everybody saved a lot of time, money and effort, and it was a really smooth running peak for us. So I'm super proud of the changes that those guys made. And when you were saying about how you've either got it in you or not, I believe there's a certain element of that, but it can be trained into you if you do it in the right way. And that's something that we spent a lot of time training people so they were known as the helpful help desk. Because my point to them is the minute someone picks up the phone for the help desk, it's because something's gone wrong. So you need to be accountable for it. You need to wrap your arms around that customer so they feel really, really supportive and they know that you're going to make that problem go away for them without them having to chase you. And that's what they were trying to do, to preempt things, to make sure that if an issue did happen, because issues are going to happen, it's what you do about it that matters. So that's my 2 pence worth on that. Back to my FM days.
No, it was great. And also, I think you see also that, you know, we did ask some example where we have an impact on investment, because I feel that when we are on the money at the end of the day, what we are talking about is we are there to support the business. So I think it's important to always come back with a strategy that's going to make it better. But I think coming now with some proper example to see that you can deliver, and I have to say, either some saving, either like Linda mentioned, some amazing brand image about your company because you won an award. So either saving, either something else that you gain, so money or awareness and brand, is just phenomenal. And I think this is what we try to also achieve, is to educate all of our member and IWFM member, FM member across the world that we can make a difference if we are on board with the goals of the company as well. And then clearly some examples of how we managed that was just spectacular. So thank you. Yeah.
We actually, one of the things that actually happened on that, from taking that service in-house so that we ran it 24/7, 365, is that we actually got to the point where one of our contractors, one of our cleaning contractors that we did, that was part of our supply chain, because we didn't self-deliver, they actually approached us then to ask us, would we run their out of hours for them rather than their security division? So they started to pay us to run their out of hours rather than paying their own sister company. So instead of them becoming a cost to the business, we were then a revenue generator as well. And we started to win external clients to do that out of hours service. So that's a testimony to the hard work that those guys put in, and actually how we really changed that round. So instead of it being a cost, it then became a generator of revenue.
Nice. And then the first thing that you said when you started your example was you ask your frontline, which are your experts, what should we do? Which is a good kind of point throughout, isn't it? Good point. I think we had a good timing where we can ask if we had some good Q&A. And I don't know if Helen, you can shout out or let us know, and then we'll see how the panel wants to react to them. So one good one, Helen, what do you think?
Oh, one good one. Okay, so how can you prove that excellent employee experience translates into excellent customer experience? And are there any metrics in which you can do this?
Nice. Who wants? Hey, this is it. This is like the buzzer, isn't it, Nicola?
I would say that if you make sure that your company has got some sort of measurement tool involved, so either Trustpilot or FIFO or Google Analytics, so people can actually leave their recommendations. And I would perhaps tie that in with something that you use on the back of your HR system, so that you measure your employee experience about how satisfied your staff are, and actually encourage your customers to mention your team, either your teams by their name or their employees by names, and actually start to look at those metrics together.
Nice. Who doesn't like data? Yeah, and data coming from different sources as well.
And also,
Yeah, I'd also add obviously your staff retention figures, and then obviously your net promoter scores, because there's a correlation there. If you're keeping staff and obviously your customers are satisfied with you, then obviously you're onto a winner.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I put another, like we had some really good examples on like some proper measuring tools. Andrea, you had also an example.
oh yeah, I was thinking, going back to the generational question, I know that the generation topic that Linda mentioned is as simple as when you go to the airport and you have you've got the smiley, happy face and all of that. You have that somewhere that someone can tap on. Or for example, what we do at the club is we've got a QR code. So yes, we do support the people that are not necessarily tech savvy on how to use it, but we have that there because it's quick and easy. Most people have a smartphone nowadays. It's quick to do a QR code, answer a quick question, but also I think it's key not to make it too detailed. Detailed enough so you get the right trends and detractors and things like that, but you don't want to bombard people. I don't want to sit down and answer 20 questions about my experience, because you're ruining my experience, whether I'm a customer or an employee.
Yep, no, agreed. Too many tools could be intense. There's many examples you can have a look on, but I do know in terms of hospitality and what we're discussing, frontline customer services, there's still something really interesting about the company like Disney. I know now I'm going to forget it. It's an hotel, but I'm going to remember it by the end of the webinar, I promise. I feel like even you sometimes looking at their journey, so people that have created Disney and their measurement. For example, the measurement could have been like, is every person touched by Mickey? Or, is the bin always empty? Because that's one of the things, because obviously Disney doesn't want to have the smell of the bins. So I think every company will have different metrics. I think we have given you some nice examples, but it would be interesting to, again, we talked about purpose and goals. Do have a look for what data your company is interested into. I think attraction retention is another good one. Nicola?
And one of the things that when we were retraining those staff, we talked about customer experience, and we actually phoned First Direct, who I don't know if anybody banks with First Direct. They're amazing because their stats, instead of being stats for timed on the phone, they're actually KPIs around customer experience and getting it right for the customer first time. So what made me use them as an example is when I actually had my second, back in the day when people used to have interest only mortgages, because I've been self-employed for a while. When I switched to them, it was the first time when I actually understood what this interest only mortgage was that I had. And it's because the person that I was dealing with was tasked to stay on the phone with me and explain it until I understood it before the end of the call. So there's a direct correlation in the service that you get based on how the employees, and I said what they like to work for, and they said, oh, they were excellent to work for. So I actually used them to mystery shop with my team in the room, and we phoned them on loudspeaker, and I said to them, like, this is what good experience looks like. Tell me who your good experiences are. So it's people like Virgin, Emirates and stuff like that. And we actually did a task where we called them so that they could see what it's like to experience it, so they could actually start to embody that and deliver it themselves. But each year they win Best Bank for customer service, and they've got loads and loads of their awards across their website. But I think that
That's a good one.
Then it speaks for itself.
You can see how the company clearly has then targeted another metric as opposed to sometimes what we have on our contract, which is a very intense KPI for actually that you want customer services. Okay, let's change our KPIs to reflect it, as opposed to maybe just saving money, which, as we described on the question before, is a kind of an answer at the end. When we do it good, you might actually save or actually make it more money. So that's very interesting. Ellen, I think we have time for one more question. We'll be snappy on the answer. We'll be good.
Okay, so lots of people would like to know, what are your thoughts on selecting a customer service accreditation body to help give a framework of ideas to train and deliver customer service training? And what body would you go for?
Nice. And I think this one must be around Linda's expertise here. I did quote you.
Yeah, look, there are lots of training organisations out there and ISO standards in customer service. So I personally like sort of B Corp accreditation, etc., because it's wider than just customer service. At the end of the day, these are labour-intensive exercises for organisations to go through. So therefore, any company must choose one which is appropriate for their own needs, etc. Yeah, but with any training, to me, it's a case of it's about aptitude and attitude, etc. You get the right employees, train them up, etc., and make sure that when any training is undertaken, that person who's undertaken the training actually writes you 500 words on what they're going to do differently to reinforce that learning, which is what people do not do. They just go away and do the training and nothing is moving, no dials are being turned because everybody says you've got inadequate training, you've got inadequate result, etc. So choose your training provider carefully, make sure that any individual who's done the training actually has to sort of then write your report on what they're going to do differently and allow them to deploy it within your organisation. But there's no one accreditation body out there which I'll report above. You've got Investors in People, you've got sort of B Corp, etc. It must be down to each individual company.
Yep, I think it's very fair. And that little tip about asking people that do take a training on ask what you would do differently after is genius, by the way. So if you never did this before, definitely do that. Andrea?
No, I was just thinking about it. I think, as Linda says, you know, it's not a one size fits all. It depends what you want. Do you want your staff to become, or your team, sorry, I hate the term staff. Do you want your team to be more relaxed and comfortable with speaking? Is that the main issue? Is it the telephone? Is it being able to critically think? Do you need to pick something that's not quite customer service? And although I may get some backlash for it, I think we need to stop calling it customer service. Okay, it's a service, yes, but it's the experience has better connotations. So, like for example, the Metropolitan Police, they're no longer called a force; they are called a service. It's a different context, but force was too abrupt. So if we go in with the customer experience, it has a whole range of things. It's not just how to talk on the phone, how to stand up straight, how to do your makeup or your hair, you know, like back in the day when we had to do that at reception. If we start looking at experience, it opens up a world to different areas that we can focus on and bring in to teach our teams.
Yeah, no, love it. And a lot of the time, again, you do have expertise in-house. Sometimes I do love a lot of accreditation, by the way. I think there are some things that are really worth it, but sometimes your expertise in-house and the history of your company would help probably further. And some examples of customer experience in the past would help on that training. So I would also recommend that. Nicola?
I think that was my point that I was about to add. It's okay to have these organisations, and a lot of them are pretty much of a muchness with the criteria that they're doing. I think there needs to be an in-house element of what you're actually wanting them to deliver that actually is something that's really, really special and bespoke to that experience that you're wanting to create, rather than just ticking criteria against measurables on coursework. It's irrelevant unless it's something that means something to the company. And again, like Linda was saying, that you actually need to make sure that you actually implement that when you get back. If you don't implement it, what's the point of actually going into partnership with a company to do it? It costs a lot of money, it costs a lot of time, it costs somebody to police it and to manage it. None of it is worth it unless you're going to look at the implementation and actually what it's going to mean to your employees and their customers, both internal and external. If it just becomes something that's in the way, then there's no point to doing it. There's got to be something that actually is a meaningful reason for doing it.
Yeah, and in actual fact, Maud, if there's any companies out there who are wondering how to start on this, then I would implore them to go onto the IWFM website, go onto the customer experience SIG, because I have to say, you and your team have produced the most amazing guidance and support. Well, yeah, I've got a pencil in my hand, so goodness knows what that looks like. So no, seriously, the quality of the content that you and your team have produced to support people in actually helping create a really good customer experience. Those documents to take everybody through that process. It's a process. Take everybody through the process. If you forget any accreditation bodies, just go onto that, download it, use it.
Brilliant. What a good segue as well to the slide I'm going to share, because as abrupt as it may sound, we are at the end of the webinar. So thank you to my panelists. I will share a couple of slides. I did mention I wanted to go through a couple of things with you. Here we go. So we had a CPD number just in case you needed it. Take note of it. I will leave it for another 2 seconds. And as per Linda said, we do have produced some nice guide that can guide you. Again, we don't accreditate anybody, but we have literally put all of our expertise together, including the ladies with us, everybody that works from the SIG, and we have done some good practice guide, which are here. And then again, if you don't have time to snap this with your phone, and you can go into IWFM. I mean, this is our SIG, but there are many others, good practice guys. And I'm also going to just share the upcoming training courses, which we always would recommend. Like we said, I mean, go into the courses, and why don't you just ask everybody after that to say, what did you feel like and what you're going to do different? Another good one to remind yourself is the mentor is always a good way to making sure you have a good training. And then, as Linda mentioned, we do really encourage you to either go into the IWFM Impact Award slide page so you see the previous winner, but also do enter yourself. So we would love that. And if you want to be a member of IWFM, of the SIG, get more involved, please do join us on the website that you see. Thank you so much for the panel. And we are just at a time. So it was again brilliant to have you. Thank you so much. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.